information session that a lot of us have children that use the park and play soccer at the parkland at Estabrook Park. My children are now teenagers, so even though I still worry about them crossing Wilson Drive, it's not the same as it was 10 years ago when I would bike with them to Estabrook only so that they could get across the street. I'm happy to see that this is, that narrowing the street or adding a boulevard are both options, because again, they're both great alternatives to what the current situation is. So as a board member, we need to evaluate the entire project, and based on the reality of the situation, based on the needs of the entire village, based on facts and data provided to us by professionals. And I also agree, as Trustee McKay said, there has been a lot of misinformation around this project. I don't need to call anything out here, but we make our decisions here based on facts, based on what's best for the community. We have fiduciary responsibilities to do so. So we're being asked to reconstruct the road. But as Trustee Rozek and others have mentioned, this is an opportunity for our community. This is an opportunity for us to do something outstanding. So it's an opportunity for us to increase the environmental sustainability of our village. Adding more, and so we should look for adding as much green space as possible. And we have that opportunity right now. So I'm not really sure why the argument for adding certain boulevards, and I understand boulevards are beautiful. I understand there are some safety advantages. There are also other ways that we can increase safety, and we should. The current situation of the state of the road is, in my opinion, not safe. And I'm sad that we have to spend so much money, but we do. We're required to by law, and we owe it to the community to maintain our infrastructure. So environmental additions, opportunities for rain gardens, butterfly gardens, whatever it is. If you're a visionary, you can imagine. If you're not, you can fear. And there are plenty of groups in this community. We have the Parks Commission, we have the Conservation Commission, we have lots of dedicated individuals in this village that can see ahead and can look for opportunities and bring grant money and everything else to this village. And I do think boulevards are beautiful. I don't think that they're a useful space, other than for some of the things mentioned as far as crossing, sure. And yes, kids do cross mid-boulevard. I will admit I've done it before. But it's not where I would want to put any of these usable community amenities. So I think we have two great options, and as board members, we need to evaluate the facts and data and the 10 years of research that has gone into this project and the information provided to us by the professionals, the paid professionals, the staff that we have hired and that we oversee. Let them do their job, let the people and go from there. So I support the original the original motion by Trustee Sobek. I'll explain why, just procedurally, if you wouldn't mind, President Johnson. So, board meetings are conducted as such. This is our only legal opportunity as a board to discuss these matters. Otherwise, it would be a quorum, it's illegal, public notice is needed. So right now, after the motion is made, the procedure, the protocol is this. The board, we're not going to vote before President Johnson allows people the opportunity to talk if he so chooses. Right now, the board members are not done discussing. When we're done discussing, which is our time to do business, then it gets opened up to the public. So I understand your question. I thank you for your patience. But this is also our time to do the work that we need to do, our fiduciary responsibilities to the residents of Shorewood. So we have to discuss right now because, again, as I said before, going offline or online or whatever avenue isn't how we get things done. That's backroom, which we don't do. This is public discourse.
I want to make it clear that at the end of a couple of months ago, MSA came forward with 4 alternatives. One of those alternatives was a boulevard and the existing roadway. We then passed the baton to do some engineering analysis so we could have further detail to make a recommendation and to vote on an alternative, allowing the steering committee and the SIC to actually weigh in on their recommendations. That process was not followed after once MSA gave us their 4 alternatives. So the first time I, as your representative, heard that the alternative to keep the existing roadway was not studied in the boulevard option, scenario B, was on June 26th. So if I have a lot of questions and it sounds like I'm trying to delay the project.
You approved the scope of work, I'm sorry. You approved the contract in an open way. Come on.
So the reason that I did the amendment was to get some detail on a scenario that is viable, and from the residential input that we obtained, the written communications, that the residents want. I agree the project is ready to be constructed if we were ready. It also probably will not impact the project or the safety of the roadway if we waited 1 year. We've pushed back some big projects that have just as much, if not more, pertinence of speed. So I just feel like there are a lot of things that we need to look at. I also don't appreciate chastising the residents for a misinformation. We have a diversity policy that we just adopted that says you are allowed to promote your cause in this community, and if a resident wants to pass a flyer out, I don't believe in chastising them for spreading misinformation, whether that's true or not about the misinformation. So I would like that to stop the next time residents come into our community and want to express their opinion. I do not believe we should be telling them that that is a wrong thing to do here in Shorewood. Thank you.
I just wanted to say, I do think we have, I agree with Trustee Bockhorst that we have a fiduciary responsibility, but that responsibility is not to merely accept conclusions that consultants give us. We have to, consultants, Grafe and also Ellers in our financial areas, they put numbers into spreadsheets and they make assumptions. But it's our job to ask questions about those assumptions and to understand the models that they're building and to make sure that some of the numbers are consistent and all these sort of things. That the parking information, for example, that was given to Grave was inaccurate in many details. That was something that was discovered by Trustee Rozek. So it's not enough to just say, oh, Grave says this. Was Grave given the correct information? Is Grave making the correct assumptions? And that is upon us to take a little more care and attention to the reports and the information that we get from consultants. That's one thing. Secondly, many people in their communications to us talk about Oakland Avenue and how congested Oakland Avenue has become. And part of the problems on Morris and people complaining on Murray have to do with as many people, pretty much everyone in town, if you says, I don't drive on Oakland anymore, I find some other way to get through town to get where I'm going. So we know that when we take actions, not even action as drastic as what we're talking about on Wilson, that it changes traffic patterns in the rest of the village. To assume that that's not going to happen and to not take that seriously, I think is not responsible. Secondly, I want to bring up this decision. It reminds me of the pavers on Capitol, the brick pavers and that whole issue. I wasn't on the board. Many of us were not on the board when that decision was made. But it's one of those decisions that people are always like, why did that happen? And they're mad about it. And I just think that in 5 years, if we narrow the road too much, we do such a drastic narrowing for all the reasons I already talked about with buses, etc., and we have traffic all over, much more traffic in different parts of town. I just don't want to be looking at the same kind of complaints from residents that we get sometimes when we make decisions that in retrospect were not the right ones. So.
Connie Volpez, 4331 North Alpine Avenue. And I've gone to just about every single Wilson Drive meeting since the beginning of time. I was very excited it was going to be an open process, and it was beautifully handled with an open house, and all sorts of people with their ideas came together, and many ideas were put forth and sent into the village and that sort of thing. Then move on, the village decided on 2 options, and the 2 options were developed by Ray. And again, a presentation, an open house invitation for people to give their thoughts. And most people want to have the boulevard. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. But anyway, most people want the boulevard. And all of a sudden, it's just thrown out the window. Like, what happened to democracy here at Shorewood? It's so upsetting. Anyway.
I talked earlier to Chris Bamberg, 4317 North Morris. My main concern with this, and I'm kind of neutral on the boulevard, is about the safety of driving on that road, particularly with emergency vehicles. You move the police department onto Wilson. By necessity, those cars are going to have to be able to get in and out quickly and move quickly to emergencies. If you make it 44 feet, you've got 11 feet of parking, you've got 10 feet of bike lane on each side, and honestly, if a police car is coming behind me, where am I going to go to get out of his way? I'm going to have to go whipping onto one of those side streets where there's an alley, probably at a high rate of speed because I want to get out of the way, and there's really nowhere to go. So my question is, how are you going to make that safe for people to drive on Wilson, but also get access to emergency vehicles? We're part of a cooperative with other communities for fire needs. If they have to come through, again, where are people going? Are they going onto the new green space? It really kind of frustrates me. I would like to see the 56-foot left cap. If you can't afford that, I think there's a huge difference between 44 and 56. There's a lot of other options there that would give you enough space in order for those vehicles to get through safely, and for both pedestrians, bike riders, vehicles to be able to be out of the way. And as a last point, we're talking about controlling speed. I haven't heard any talk about possibly putting in a stoplight somewhere along the way, along Congress or Kensington or something like that, that would naturally slow things down. Because quite honestly, those little flashing crossing signs, people are going to ignore those the same way they ignore the stop signs. And you're going to end up getting somebody killed. And I don't want to see that.
Just in response to your first point about emergency vehicles, I agree wholeheartedly, and that's why the motion, the original motion that is before the board right now, is to not simply take the design and run with it, but take the design and modify it in several ways. One of the ways is to increase the width of the roadway so that it does allow for you to pull aside safely to allow. Absolutely.
Yeah, what I've heard tonight, I've listened to a lot, it sounds like there's still a lot of indecision going on. I hear kind of a certain number of people that are pressing, let's vote on it tonight, but it doesn't sound like we're ready to vote on it. It sounds like we still have questions to be answered, whether it's environmental, whether it's safety, whatever, that we need to make sure we have all our ducks in a row before we commit to something, because we're not, I'm not going to be around here 50 years from now to make this.
I think, and it's a good point, I think, for all of us to remember, tonight's vote is not our final vote. What the motion is to give Grafe a direction with which they can take and do additional development work. That will both come back to us and come back to another public information meeting to allow for.
Right, but with the amendment, it allows to continue with the boulevard to at least have that option still on the table. If we don't do the amendment, if the amendment goes down, then you are taking a vote to narrow the road without a boulevard. So you are taking a vote on eliminating the boulevard. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see something remain on the books from you guys that says, we want to look at widening it enough to make it safe for emergency vehicles to get through. Because when I'm looking at, the way it is, it doesn't seem safe. It seems dangerous.
Hello, I'm Susie Balfus, 4331 North Alpine. I was really hoping to make my comment independent of my mom, but she said what I was going to say. At the national level, I feel like citizens' concerns are being ignored, and I feel like at this local level, we should really incorporate them into the process moving forward. And I was at the open house a couple of weeks ago, and the room was